Sarah Mitchell stood at the window of her cramped studio apartment, watching the rain streak down the glass like tears she was too tired to cry. 29 years old, drowning in debt, working two jobs that barely covered rent, and watching her dreams slip further away with each passing day. The rejection email on her phone screen still glowed in the darkness. "Thank you for your application, but we've decided to move forward with other candidates." That made rejection number 47. She pressed her forehead against the cold glass, her breath fogging the window. How had it come to this? 5 years ago, she'd graduated with honors, full of hope and ambition. She was going to change the world. She was going to build something meaningful. Now she could barely afford groceries. The universe seemed to have forgotten her name. But what Sarah didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know in that moment of despair, was that the universe had been listening all along. And tonight, everything was about to change. Part 2. The Mysterious Visitor. The knock at the door came at exactly 11 p.m. Sarah wasn't expecting anyone. She never had visitors. Her hand trembled as she opened the door to find an elderly woman standing in the hallway, somehow completely dry despite the storm raging outside. The woman's eyes sparkled with an otherworldly wisdom, and she held a weathered leather journal in her aged hands. "Sarah Mitchell," the woman said, her voice like wind chimes. "I've been waiting a very long time to meet you." I think you have the wrong apartment," Sarah stammered. "No, child, I never have the wrong apartment." The woman smiled gently. "My name is Alina, and I'm here because you made a wish. Do you remember? You were 7 years old, standing in your grandmother's garden, looking up at the stars. You wished that one day, when you needed it most, someone would show you the secret to making all your dreams come true." Sarah's heart stopped. She did remember. That memory had been buried for 22 years, but suddenly it flooded back with crystal clarity. The smell of jasmine, her grandmother's gentle laugh, the infinite expanse of stars, and the desperate wish of a child who somehow knew life would be hard. "How could you possibly?" "Because that's what I do," Alina interrupted softly. "I deliver answers to those who genuinely seek them. May I come in? Your life is about to change, Sarah, but only if you're ready to listen." Part 3. The Journal of Manifestation. Alina sat at Sarah's tiny kitchen table, placing the leather journal between them. Its pages were yellowed with age, filled with handwritten notes, sketches, and what looked like scientific equations mixed with poetry. "This journal," Alina began, "has been passed down for 300 years from teacher to student, guardian to seeker. It contains the true principles of what people call the law of attraction, not the watered-down version you see in pop psychology, but the real, powerful, life-transforming truth." Sarah wanted to laugh to dismiss this as nonsense, but something in Alina's eyes held her captive, something true. "Let me tell you a story," Alina continued. 50 years ago, I was exactly where you are now, broken, hopeless, drowning. I had lost everything, my family, my home, my purpose. I was days away from giving up entirely. Then someone came to me with this journal just as I'm coming to you now. "And it worked?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. "I went from sleeping in my car to building a company that employs thousands. I manifested the love of my life at age 45 when I'd given up on love. I healed from a terminal diagnosis that doctors said was impossible to survive. But more than any of that, I found peace, true, unshakable peace." Alina's eyes glistened with emotion. "And now it's your turn." Sarah felt tears streaming down her face, though she couldn't remember starting to cry. "I don't know if I believe in any of this." "You don't have to believe yet," Alina said gently. "You just have to be willing to try. Are you willing, Sarah? Are you willing to give the universe one more chance?" After a long moment, Sarah nodded. Part 4. The First Principle: Clarity of Vision. Alina opened the journal to the first page, where elegant handwriting spelled out, "The first principle: you cannot attract what you cannot clearly see." Most people fail at manifestation before they even begin, Alina explained, because they don't know what they actually want. They say, I want to be happy or I want success, but these are fog. The universe can't deliver fog. She pulled out a pen and paper. Right now, I want you to write down your perfect day 1 year from now. Not vague wishes, specific details. Where do you wake up? What do you see when you open your eyes? What do you do? Who are you with? How do you feel? What problems have you solved? Make it so clear that I could paint a picture of it. Sarah hesitated, then began to write. At first her hand moved slowly, cautiously, as if she was afraid to want too much. But then something broke open inside her, and the words poured out. I wake up in a sun-filled bedroom with large windows overlooking the city. The sheets are soft and expensive. I'm not anxious about bills. I walk to my home office where I run my own consulting business, helping other companies solve their biggest challenges. My calendar shows 3 client meetings today, each paying me what I used to make in a month. My phone buzzes with a message from Marcus. Yes, I've found someone who truly loves me, who makes me laugh, who believes in my dreams. Tonight we're going to dinner to celebrate closing my biggest deal yet. I feel proud, capable, free. When Sarah finished, her hands were shaking. She'd never let herself want something so specifically before. It felt dangerous, vulnerable. Beautiful, Alina said, reading over her shoulder. Now you have something to attract. Now the universe knows what to send you, but this is just the beginning. Part 5, the second principle, the frequency of feeling. Alina turned to the next page. The second principle, emotion is the language of creation. Here's where most people get it wrong, Alina said, leaning forward. They visualize what they want, but they do it from a place of lack, from desperation, from fear, from, I don't have this and I need it. That frequency broadcasts need, so the universe sends back more situations where you need. Then what do I do? Sarah asked. You must feel the emotions of already having it. Not fake it, truly embody it. When you wrote about your perfect day, how did it make you feel? Sarah closed her eyes, letting herself sink back into the vision. Proud, she whispered, peaceful, excited about life, like I matter, like I'm contributing something valuable to the world. Those feelings, Alina said intensely, are your tuning fork, every day, multiple times a day. You must find ways to feel those exact emotions: pride, peace, excitement, value. You don't wait until you have the success to feel successful. You feel successful now, and the success must manifest to match your frequency. But how? How do I feel successful when I'm drowning in bills? Alina smiled. Small victories. You finished a difficult task at work. Let yourself feel genuinely proud. You helped a coworker. Let yourself feel valuable. You kept your apartment clean. Let yourself feel capable. These aren't lies, they're truth you've been ignoring. Success isn't one big thing. It's built from thousands of small moments where you recognize your own worth. Part 6, the third principle, inspired action. The journal opened to a page filled with arrows and pathways. The third principle, attraction without action is just wishful thinking. Many people misunderstand the law of attraction, Alina explained. They think it means sit on your couch, visualize, and wait for money to fall from the sky. That's magical thinking, not manifestation. Then what's the difference? The law of attraction creates opportunities, synchronicities, and opens doors. But you still have to walk through them. You still have to take action. But it's inspired action, not desperate action. Alina pulled out her phone and showed Sarah a photo of a handwritten note. Follow the excitement. This is your compass, she said. When you're aligned with your vision and feeling your frequency, ideas will come to you that genuinely excite you. A random thought to email someone, an impulse to take a different route home, a curiosity about learning a new skill. These aren't random, they're inspired action calling you forward. Your job is to follow them, even when they don't make logical sense. What if I'm wrong? What if I follow the excitement and it leads nowhere? Then you course correct. But I promise you, Sarah, When you combine clear vision, high-frequency emotions, and inspired action, the universe moves mountains to meet you. I've seen it happen hundreds of times, and it's about to happen for you. Part 7. The Test of Faith. The next morning, Sarah woke up with Aliner's words echoing in her mind. She pulled out the paper where she'd written her perfect day and read it again, letting herself feel the emotions of pride, peace, and excitement. Then she went to her soul-crushing waitressing job, where her manager yelled at her for a mistake she didn't make, and the illusion shattered. This is stupid, she thought bitterly. Nothing's going to change. But then she remembered Aliner's words, "You must feel successful now." So during her break, Sarah sat in the back room and made a list of small victories from just that morning. She'd woken up on time. She'd remembered to compliment a coworker who looked sad. She'd handled a difficult customer with grace. As she wrote each one, she let herself genuinely feel proud. Something small shifted inside her. That evening, while browsing her phone with no particular purpose, a random thought struck her. Check LinkedIn. She almost ignored it. She'd been rejected 47 times, why torture herself? But Aliner's words returned. Follow the excitement, even when it doesn't make sense. There at the top of her feed was a post from a former college professor. Does anyone know a talented problem solver who thinks outside the box? My company desperately needs fresh perspective on a consulting project. Sarah's heart raced. This was it, an inspired action moment. Before fear could stop her, she sent a direct message, sharing a detailed analysis of a problem she'd seen in the news about that very company. She wrote for 30 minutes, pouring her expertise and creativity into the message, feeling that frequency of pride and value with every word. Then she hit send and tried not to hope too hard. Part 8. The Domino Effect. 3 days later, Sarah got a response. The professor wanted to meet for coffee. 1 week after that, she was offered a consulting contract. 6 months, excellent pay, exactly the type of work she'd written about in her perfect day. But here's what Sarah realized. The opportunity didn't appear because she visualized it. The opportunity was probably always there, floating in the digital ether of LinkedIn. What changed was her. Her frequency shifted, her awareness expanded, and suddenly she could see and act on opportunities that had been invisible before. The success created momentum. With the consulting contract, Sarah could quit one of her jobs. With more time and less stress, she could exercise again, which made her feel more capable and confident. That confidence showed up in her work, leading to better results and a contract extension. Within 3 months, she was matching her old salary with half the stress. Within 6 months, she'd been referred to 3 other companies. But the real transformation wasn't external. Part 9. The Inner Revolution. One evening, Sarah sat in her same studio apartment. She hadn't moved yet, though she could now afford to, and realized something profound had shifted inside her. She no longer felt like a victim of circumstance. She felt like a creator of her reality. When challenges appeared, and they still did, she didn't spiral into despair. Instead, she asked, "What's the opportunity here? What's trying to emerge?" When she made mistakes, she didn't collapse into shame. She felt genuinely proud of herself for trying and curious about what to learn. The desperate, grasping energy that used to drive her actions had transformed into something else. A calm certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be, becoming exactly who she was meant to be. Aliner had been right. The law of attraction wasn't about getting stuff. It was about becoming the person who naturally attracts what they desire because they already embody those qualities. Part 10. Passing it forward. 2 years after Aliner's visit, Sarah sat in her new office, sun-filled, overlooking the city, exactly as she'd envisioned, when she got an unexpected email. The subject line read, "I'm at my breaking point, can you help?" It was from a young man named David, 26 years old, drowning in debt, working jobs he hated, sending out endless job applications to silence. Something in his email made Sarah's heart ache with recognition. She wrote back immediately, "Come to my office tomorrow at 11 a.m. I have something to show you." That night, Sarah opened the drawer where she'd kept Aliner's leather journal. She'd made her own notes in it over the past 2 years, new insights, experiments, failures, and breakthroughs. The journal had grown thicker, richer, more powerful. She ran her fingers over the worn cover and thought about Aliner, who'd appeared at her darkest moment with exactly what she needed. She thought about all the people who'd held this journal before her, each one passing forward the gift they'd received. And she understood. This was the final principle, the one Aliner hadn't written down because it couldn't be taught, only discovered. The law of attraction isn't complete until you become the attractor for others. Part 11. The Meeting. David arrived the next morning looking exactly as Sarah had looked 2 years ago. Exhausted, skeptical, desperately hopping for something, but afraid to believe. "Thank you for seeing me," he said, collapsing into the chair across from her desk. "I know you're busy. I saw your story online about how you turned your life around, and I thought maybe." "You thought maybe if I could do it, you could too," Sarah finished gently. David nodded, blinking back tears. Sarah pulled out the leather journal and placed it on the desk between them. "What I'm about to share with you isn't magic. It won't work overnight. It will challenge everything you think you know about how life works. Are you ready for that?" "I'm ready for anything," David said. "I can't keep living like this." "Then let me tell you a story," Sarah began. "2 years ago, I was exactly where you are now." Part 12. The Ripple. As Sarah shared the principles with David, clarity of vision, frequency of feeling, inspired action, she watched his face transform. The same shift she'd experienced was happening in real time for him. From victim to creator, from powerless to powerful, from broken to becoming. She sent him home with 3 assignments. First, write his perfect day in excruciating detail. Second, find 5 small ways to feel successful, proud, and valuable every single day, even if nothing external changed. Third, follow any inspired action that genuinely excited him, no matter how illogical it seemed. "Come back in 1 week," she told him. "Tell me what happened." David left her office walking taller than when he'd arrived, holding a photocopy of the journal's core pages like they were treasure maps. Because they were. Part 13. The Science of Manifestation. That night Sarah couldn't sleep. She sat at her window, the same window where she'd stood 2 years ago, watching rain and rejection, and marveled at the transformation. But she also wondered, was this real, or had she just gotten lucky? So she did what any former skeptic would do. She researched. She discovered quantum physics theories about observation affecting reality. Studies on neuroplasticity showing that consistent visualization literally rewires the brain, making you better at recognizing opportunities. Research on emotional frequency and how stress hormones versus confidence hormones affect decision-making and risk-taking. The science didn't prove the law of attraction as some mystical force, but it did show something equally powerful. When you change your internal state, your clarity, your emotions, your beliefs, you literally change your brain's ability to perceive and act on opportunities. You change what you notice. You change how people respond to you. You change what risks you're willing to take. The attraction wasn't the universe magically delivering gifts. It was you becoming someone who could finally see, seize, and create the opportunities that had always been there. Part 14. David's Breakthrough. 1 week later, David returned to Sarah's office, and she barely recognized him. His eyes were different, brighter, more alive. His posture was different, shoulders back, chin up. Even his voice was different, steadier, more certain. "You're not going to believe what happened," he said, practically vibrating with excitement. Over the past week, David had done the exercises religiously. He'd written his perfect day. He'd found small victories to feel proud of. And then, on day 4, he'd felt a random impulse to attend a community event he'd seen advertised, something about local entrepreneurs meeting for coffee. He almost didn't go, it seemed pointless, but Sarah's words echoed, "Follow the excitement." At that event, he'd met a startup founder who desperately needed someone with David's exact skill set, data analysis. They'd talked for 3 hours. By the end, David had a job offer, double his current salary, doing work he'd actually dreamed about. "But here's the crazy part," David said, leaning forward. "That event has been happening monthly for 2 years. I walk past that coffee shop every single day. The opportunity was always there, Sarah. I couldn't see it before. I was so focused on my failures, so low frequency, that I was blind to what was right in front of me." Sarah felt tears well up because she knew exactly what he meant. "The law of attraction didn't create the opportunity," she said softly. "It created the version of you who could finally recognize it." Part 15. The Truth About Obstacles. 3 months later, Sarah's phone rang at midnight. It was David, and he was crying. "It's all falling apart," he sobbed. "The startup is running out of money. I might lose the job. I thought I was done with this suffering. I thought the law of attraction meant everything would be easy now." Sarah's heart broke for him, remembering her own moment of crisis 6 months after meeting Alina, when a major client had canceled, and she'd thought the universe had abandoned her. "David," she said gently, "can I tell you what Alina told me when I called her in tears?" "Please." She said, "The universe isn't punishing you, it's promoting you. This obstacle is here to teach you something you need to learn for the next level. Your job isn't to avoid obstacles, it's to stay in your power while you move through them." What does that even mean? It means you don't go back to victim consciousness. You don't abandon your vision. You stay clear on what you want. You maintain your frequency of success and value even when circumstances are challenging. And you watch for the inspired action that will show you the way forward. Sometimes the obstacle is redirecting you to something even better. Sometimes it's teaching you resilience you'll need later. But it's never random, and it's never punishment. David was quiet for a long moment. "So what do I do?" You do tomorrow what you did when you first found this path. You find 5 small things to feel proud and successful about. You visualize your perfect day. You follow the excitement. And you trust that this is all part of becoming who you need to be. Part 16. The Unexpected Path. David followed Sarah's advice. He stayed in his power. He kept his frequency high. And within 2 weeks, the struggling startup introduced him to an investor who was so impressed with David's work that he hired him directly, triple the salary, leading data analysis for a portfolio of companies. The obstacle had been a doorway to something far better than his original manifestation. But more than that, David had learned the most crucial lesson. The law of attraction isn't a one-time miracle. It's a practice, a way of being. And obstacles are part of the practice. They're the universe's way of asking, are you really ready for what you say you want? Have you truly become that person? Part 17. Sarah's Evolution. 5 years after Alina's visit, Sarah had built a thriving consulting business, published a book about problem solving, found love with someone who challenged and supported her in equal measure, and moved into that sun-filled apartment she'd once only imagined. But the most profound change was internal. She no longer needed external validation to feel worthy. She no longer collapsed when things got difficult. She'd internalized the truth that she was the creator of her experience, not the victim of circumstances. And she'd begun to notice something magical. The more she embodied this truth, the more lucky coincidences happened. The right people appeared at the right time. Solutions emerged from unexpected places. Opportunities multiplied. Was it the universe responding to her frequency? Or was it simply that she'd become someone who noticed opportunities, built genuine relationships, took consistent action, and maintained resilience through challenges? Sarah realized it didn't matter. The mechanism was less important than the result. Life had transformed from a struggle to survive into an adventure of creation. Part 18. The Full Circle. One evening, Sarah got a letter delivered by hand. Inside was an address and a single line. "It's time. Come at 11 p.m. Alina." Sarah's hands trembled as she drove to the address, a beautiful old house on the edge of the city. Alina answered the door, looking exactly as she had 5 years ago, ageless, radiant, wise. "Come in, child," Alina said warmly. "We have much to discuss." Inside, Sarah was shocked to find a room full of people, about 20 of them, ranging in age from late 20s to 70s. And she recognized some of them: successful entrepreneurs, activists, artists, healers, people who were making real impacts in the world. "Welcome," Alina said to the group, "to our newest member. Sarah, these are the journal keepers. Everyone in this room received the journal at their breaking point, just as you did. We gather once a year to share our journeys and support each other in staying true to the principles." An elegant woman in her 60s stood up. "I received the journal 30 years ago when I was days away from homelessness. Now, I run a foundation that's housed over 10,000 families." A young man with kind eyes spoke next. "I got it 3 years ago after a suicide attempt. Today I'm a therapist helping others find reasons to live." One by one, they shared their stories, each one a testament to the transformative power of clarity, high-frequency emotion, and inspired action. Each one proof that the law of attraction, properly understood and practiced, could literally change the trajectory of a life. "You see, Sarah," Alina said, "you're not special because you succeeded. You're special because you're ready to carry the work forward. David was your first, but he won't be your last. This is how the journal has survived for 300 years. Each keeper passes it to those who need it most, creating a network of conscious creators rippling out into the world." Sarah felt the weight and honor of this responsibility settle into her bones. "I'm ready," she whispered. Part 19. The Final Teaching. Before Sarah left that night, Alina pulled her aside. "There's one more thing I never told you," Alina said, her eyes twinkling. "The most advanced principle of all." Sarah leaned in, eager to learn. "The ultimate manifestation," Alina said slowly, "is not getting what you want. It's becoming so aligned with the flow of life that you want what you get. It's reaching a state where you trust the universe so completely that you stop trying to control outcomes. You simply show up as your highest self, take inspired action, and allow life to surprise you with something even better than you imagined." Sarah felt tears streaming down her face because she understood. She'd experienced this exact thing multiple times, where she'd let go of attachment to a specific outcome, and something far better had emerged. "How do I teach that?" Sarah asked. "You don't," Alina said gently. "They discover it themselves, usually after years of practice. Your job is simply to plant the seeds: clarity, frequency, action. The universe handles the rest." Part 20. The Legacy. 10 years after Alina's midnight visit, Sarah stood in front of 500 people at a conference, holding the leather journal. "This journal," she began, "has been passed from hand to hand for over 3 centuries. It contains the principles that transformed my life and the lives of hundreds of others. But here's the truth: you don't need this journal. You never did." The audience leaned forward, confused. "Because the journal doesn't have power," Sarah continued. "You do. The principles aren't magic, they're simply mirrors showing you the power you've always had: clear vision, high-frequency emotion, inspired action. These aren't secret techniques. They're your natural state when you're not blocked by fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs." She held up the journal. "This is just paper and ink. What matters is whether you're willing to do the work, to get crystal clear on what you really want, to feel successful before the success arrives, to take action even when you're terrified, to stay in your power when obstacles appear, to trust that you are the creator of your experience. I was drowning 10 years ago, drowning in debt, drowning in despair, drowning in the belief that life happened to me, not for me or through me. One conversation changed everything, not because someone gave me magic words, but because someone helped me remember my own power. Sarah's voice grew stronger. So I'm asking you right now, are you ready to remember yours? Epilogue: The Infinite Ripple. 20 years after that rainy night when everything changed, Sarah sat in her home office, now silver-haired and deeply content, when her doorbell rang at 11 p.m. She opened it to find a young woman, 26 years old, with tears streaming down her face and desperation in her eyes. "Are you Sarah Mitchell?" the woman asked. "Someone gave me your address. They said you could help me. I'm at my breaking point. I've lost everything. I don't know what to do." Sarah smiled gently, feeling the full circle of time, and stepped aside. "Come in, child. I've been expecting you." She walked to her desk and pulled out the leather journal, now even more worn, filled with her own insights and the wisdom of all who'd held it before. "Let me tell you a story," Sarah began, and as she spoke, she felt Aline's presence and the presence of every journal keeper who'd come before, stretching back 300 years, an unbroken chain of people choosing to remember their power and helping others do the same. This was the true law of attraction, not just manifesting what you want, but becoming someone whose very existence helps others manifest their own light. The young woman listened with wide eyes, and Sarah knew, with absolute certainty, that this moment was exactly where the universe had been leading her all along. Not to success, not to wealth, not to recognition, but to this, the profound honor of helping another soul remember that they were never powerless at all. The principles: a summary. For those ready to begin their journey. Clarity of vision. Get specific about what you want. You cannot attract what you cannot clearly see. Frequency of feeling. Emotion is the language of creation. Feel successful now, and success must manifest to match your frequency. Inspired action. Attraction without action is wishful thinking. Follow the excitement and take action on what calls to you. Small victories. Success isn't one big thing. It's built from thousands of small moments where you recognize your worth. Trust the process. Obstacles aren't punishment, they're promotion to the next level. Become the attractor. The ultimate manifestation is becoming someone whose very existence helps others manifest their light. Your breaking point isn't your ending, it's your beginning. The universe is listening. It always has been. Now it's your turn to answer.